the one thing that we can actually control within that formula is not the means. Profits and losses, they come and go like waves. And we're back with another reflection on the daily Vedantic. In today's reflection, well, I titled it On Money, but this could be on attachment of any form. Money just happens to be one hell of an attachment in modern society, an attachment to a symbol within us for freedom, or a symbol for many of us for power, or name, or stability. Obviously, if you were offered $10 million and then you would pass away an hour later, that $10 million would not have that much power over you. It wouldn't have that much appeal. Because it really is just a symbol for something else that we want. And our attachment for that something else, sometimes we put it into a symbol that represents that for us. The idea of a vacation. To be free from whatever experience you have right now. These symbols come in so many forms. A promotion, because it symbolizes in your mind that is progress or an improvement in name. That is a validation against an inner voice of insecurity. These symbols sometimes are symbols of symbols of symbols of things that we want. The attachment to making money so that we can buy the car, so that we can get the name, the validation, the recognition from the people we're trying to get such things from. So this really could extend to attachment in general. But money is such a good one because it is, symbol or not, it is the thing so many of us become transfixed, completely transfixed on. I remember when I was about 7, I said, by the time I'm 27, I'm going to be a millionaire. Talk about being transfixed on something at 7 that I must have realized would give me name or freedom, buy all the toys, all the Nerf guns that I wanted. To where I was as a child, becoming transfixed by it. We often say that money is the root of all evil, but we've already discussed the root of evil. The root of evil, the Proto-Indo-European word, upal, means aboveness, overness, excessiveness, over and beyond, excess. The root of evil, quite literally, etymologically. Never said that word before. The root of the word itself has nothing to do with money. It has to do with excess. But there's quite the relation between the two. An attachment to an excess of money. That will drive us as humans to many evils. It can also drive us to great heights of a mastery of a skill or a craft. At the end of the day, prosperity is when your means are in excess of your desires. We confuse money with prosperity, but that could not be further from the actual definition of prosperity. You might have a little money and be quite, in a relative sense, and be quite prosperous, living as a monk in an ashram. You might have a lot of money. As we've quoted different wealthy people in the past on different episodes, J.D. Rockefeller comes to mind when he was asked, as the richest person on the planet asked, how much money is enough? And his response, half in jest, half serious, his response was just a little bit more. wherever you are, as you listen to this, maybe you're the 1 in 10,000 that isn't wired the exact same. But for most of us, mere mortals, as you're listening to this, the chances are pretty high that you are wired the exact same, where you think just a little bit more. And then I'll have prosperity. Just a little bit more, and then my means will be right above my desires. But always thinking in terms of more. In terms of more means, more money. Instead of thinking in terms of less desires. Because that equation works both ways. For means to be above our desires, you can increase your means or you can decrease your desires. Money is a really funny attachment because it symbolizes multiple things in our lives. It isn't those things. You can't eat a $100 bill. A briefcase of cash won't take you to Rome. It symbolizes the meal you can buy. It symbolizes the trip that you can take, but it isn't that thing. It is not the vehicle in which you travel or the nutrition in which your body needs. But it is the symbol for various things in our lives. So many things that it becomes easy for us to become attached to essentially this doorway that is the doorway to so many things we want on the other side. But when we let our desires get out of whack, where they're so far above our means, what happens? Not only are we not prosperous, we're actually in a significant state of poverty. Significant state of seeing every dollar becoming attached to it so firmly that we see every dollar. Any dollar leaving our bank account, any person trying to charge us a little too much, any opportunity to get more, we come at it with such a lens of scarcity. What does an animal do that's backed into a corner? It acts out of pure emotion. Rational thinking goes out the window. The animal is scared. So what happens if we let our desires grow well past our means? If we see every dollar as the doorway to our happiness and peace, what happens when we become so attached to money that in a wild open field, we've mentally put ourselves right in the tightest corner? What happens is that we operate out of fear. Fear of loss. We operate out of attachment. Attachment to gain. We operate out of jealousy. We operate out of emotions instead of our intellect. But this reflection isn't really about money as much as it is about our idea of prosperity and the anatomy of prosperity being a function of means and a function of desires. What backs us into that corner? What makes us irrational? What's caused the issue between you and a friend over money borrowed and unrepaid? A family member, a coworker, a promotion not got, jealousy. Jealousy of a friend, someone on social media. what is at the root of all of it? It is slowly contributing to your desires, outpacing your means, to where you only see means as a path to prosperity, to peace. You let your desires go crazy. They stack up. And in your mind, the only lever is means. I need more means. We often say in Vedanta that our realities, our mundane realities, our experiences, our perceptions in this life are illusions. Another way of saying it is it's a projection of ignorance, thinking we are seeing reality, but we've laid frameworks of our own ignorances, a veil of ignorance over reality. And what is one of the biggest veils that we lay on top of reality? Obscuring what really is from what we perceive is that we think prosperity is only a function of means. Completely blind to not only is prosperity a function of both means and desires, but that the one thing that we can actually control within that formula is not the means. Profits and losses, they come and go like waves. The one thing that we can actually control in that formula is our desires. To get out of that feeling of backed up into a corner, that scarcity mindset. It's not just switching to an abundance mindset, as modern psychologists will point to. It's not just switching to just a gratitude list. To be grateful or more aware of what you have, those things can be great. They can be helpful. But it's actually through a daily and oftentimes very incremental approach to eliminating our desires, one by one. And how do you do that? It's not sitting on your couch listing out your desires and crossing them off. It's actually through developing the intellect, the capacity to see the end in the beginning. To help you get rid of those 3 things you think you want, to help you find that one thing that will actually benefit you and the people around you. And the development of the intellect, like the development of the body, is through daily, consistent, dedicated approach. And that daily, consistent, dedicated approach to developing the intellect is through things like this. Daily reflections like these. Even better, if you want to go pro level versus just tapping on a podcast episode, would be to do this in the early morning before the sun rises. And it would be something like reading Vedanta treatise, the compendium, soup to nuts, beginning to end. Super simple articulation of this timeless philosophy. 1 to 2 pages a morning. You can't just jump under 250 pounds on the bench press and start bench pressing it from scratch, but you can work your way up to that. And that's the same thing when it comes to something as consequential, but also as difficult as eliminating desires. It is incremental, but it is also possible and actually quite simple. Because bench pressing 250 pounds is actually not that complicated. And the path to be able to do that is also not that complicated. But it takes quite a bit of dedication and consistent effort. So, an episode and a reflection on money. What is the biggest takeaway? Well, it turns out dollars has very little to do with prosperity as far as desire is concerned. That's today's reflection on the Daily Vedantic. We'll see you next time.